let's be real. This tournament has been awesome. The 2022 March Madness tournament has exceeded expectations. We've seen in some insane Cinderella stories. We see some players and coaches make a name for themselves. And ultimately, it leads up to this weekend, one of the best weekends of the year, the Final Four tournament. Final Four Saturday for men's college basketball. We've got it. The Final Four teams are going to be Kansas versus Villanova, and then Duke versus the University of North Carolina. You can't ask for anything better. I have Alex Ranniello and Brandon Gutierrez with me. What's going on, gentlemen? Things good?
Yeah, everything's good over here.
Happy to be back at it, man. Missed you guys.
Yeah.
We're all winning here. So let's hop to it right away. So these four teams are going to go at it in New Orleans in the Superdome. But before we get into this big Saturday's game, Saturday's Final Four, and then Monday's National Championship, what did you guys think of the tournament as a whole? And then after that, talk to me about how your brackets went. So first, the tournament as a whole. I already said my piece saying that this was a lot of fun. Things didn't go as planned in some certain aspects, but that's exactly why we love this tournament. It's so unpredictable and so much fun. Alex and Brandon, what do you guys think of the tournament as a whole?
Last time I prepared like a prepper, man. This was some BS this year, I'll tell you. I thought I was ahead of the curveball on a bunch of teams. They ended up biting me in the ass. They were either ill-prepared or had bad matchups. I had Arizona in the Elite Eight. They didn't even make it there. I had Tennessee in the Sweet 16. They completely lay down on me. Wisconsin really screwed me. But it all started with the first weekend. It's on Thursday night. Freaking Iowa losing really screwed me up on the right side of the bracket in the Midwest. So I was pretty much doomed. I was kind of playing with house money as a fan immediately after that. But from a competitive standpoint, if I had put money on anything, I would be selling my house.
Well, we're glad you don't have to sacrifice like that.
Me neither.
Brandon, how did the tournament go for you? What did you think of it as a whole?
It was a great tournament. I loved it. It was, there's a lot of Cinderella stories, and they don't call it March Madness for no reason. It definitely was madness. A lot of upsets that I did not see. Like me, same thing with Iowa. I thought Iowa was going to go way farther, and there was a huge upset in the Midwest. And then I got destroyed in the East as well. Kentucky getting knocked out by St. Peter's, the freaking Cinderella team probably of this year, making it all the way to the Elite Eight. Just nuts. I got my bracket turned completely on its head, pretty much, I would say. But overall, great tournament, great games. Loved it.
Yeah, it was a bad tournament for me. This was probably one of my worst brackets. And I've won one of these before. I've won a pool before, and yeah, nice. I've gotten 14%. It was God. Just a joke.
Yeah, this year it was nuts. Just this is every year this month. These teams just transform into so many sleepers that end up just having a terrible regular season and go into the tournament and then just turn around completely. Arizona, awesome regular season, and then, like Alex said, didn't even make it to the Elite. And you would have never expected that. You would think that they played flawless basketball, they would come to the tournament and ease to the Final Four.
I think as fans, what we do, especially when we like prep really hardcore and we really get into it and passionate about it, is we kind of start to kind of walk that thin line between getting, upset happy and picking like the true blue bloods, the big brands that like are supposed to move on after the first weekend. And I think that I kind of fell into that problem on the round of 32 because I had teams like, Murray. I had like teams like Murray State going far. I had St. Mary's going far. I had a lot of teams that shouldn't have been there that I had there. And I think that we kind of fall in love after the first round and it gets us in trouble.
That's the one thing that differentiates the professionals to these are college kids and college athletes.
Yeah.
Like they really do turn it on in the biggest stage of them all. And one specific example, I didn't think Duke would get out of the second round. What a mistake that was. And because they just did not win big games during the regular season. I mean, the Coach K, I honestly thought this was just it, but he's in the Final Four, and those teams played for him. And you're right. What does it really matter to go hard, be a hardcore, analyzer like that John Rothstein? It really doesn't matter. I mean, just looking at these, I mean, let's look at the Elite Eight specifically. You had a 15 seed in there, a 4th seed, an 8th seed. I mean, North Carolina is in the Final Four as an 8th seed. You had a 10 seed in there with the Elite Eight. I mean, you really do. It really is a game of luck. Whoever perfectly analyzed it, and said they thought it would be this way, you're definitely nuts. You filled out probably 15 brackets, and it shows why there's probably never going to be a perfect bracket ever. It's just too unpredictable.
And I feel like every year the law of go with senior guard play picks is always kind of broken after the first round too. So that's always like the safe way to kind of navigate your bracket, especially after the first weekend once things settle down. And that didn't happen this year. Like, maybe not guards per se, but like, Texas Tech was definitely a big one. Baylor really screwed a lot of people up. Teams like that had really, high prospects to take things a step further, and they kind of defied the rule of thumb this year, especially with picking senior guard driven and run teams. So I think that was definitely something that caught everybody off surprise. But I mean, you guys talked about the experts. It's like, Greeny and Billis and all them, like a lot of them had Arizona there. And I think that was a little bit of fool's gold. I think everybody got a little overexcited, including myself, seeing them beat UCLA towards the end of the season and thinking, oh, they're the best in that part of the bracket. They're easy, clear number 1 seed, but they were fool's gold, and they got a lot of people, I think.
It is the wrong time to have a bad game in this tournament for some schools. Definitely. And it's all about who wants it more, and it's all preparation from there. One of the probably the biggest story next to one of these Final Four matchups is definitely the St. Peter's Cinderella run from Jersey City's own. Campus is about a 5-minute drive from my apartment. Now you drive it all the time, and who would have thought that was an Elite Eight school? What'd you guys think of their run? And at any point when they played on Sunday night, did you think they had a chance to upset UNC and make it to the Final Four as a 15 seed, and then they just lost by 20 anyways?
I was just talking about this with someone, and we were talking about St. Peter's, and what we found why St. Peter's is so good is there's so many guards. They have so many, like, ample amount of guards in that team, which made them so good in the guard play. I feel like when it came to UNC, they didn't have a chance. We were talking about how they had great shooters on that St. Peter's team, great guards, but they had no down low court play, no really big guys and stuff like that. And that's where UNC kind of overpowered them. I think the forward on UNC, I think it's
Baycott.
Yeah, Baycott. He got like 22 rebounds. He was literally just getting every single board, and that just shows that guards can go so far, but you still need to have that traditional, 2 big guys down low to kind of counteract. You need that offensive play, that rebound, stuff like that, and that's why I think they fell short. I think if they would have played like a different team in that position, they could have went further. But UNC they have such a nice balance of guards and forwards on that team that they didn't have enough firepower for that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the only big presence that St. Peter's had to speak of was Ndefo, and Dougie Buckets. No, I mean, look, Barstool's gonna be paying him in perpetuity for years to come. But No, and definitely like I liked him. He was a monster in the tournament, and he played the best basketball at the right time. But eventually, it was just going to be too overwhelming with Baycott and Manek down there. I think that going forward, and we'll talk about this later. I think that this offense has to run through Manek, even though it doesn't show it by the numbers. But they look more unstoppable, unguardable when he has the ball in his hands in the high pick and roll. But I thought that they just picked them apart on the glass. I mean, I think in my understanding, and I'm not looking at the numbers right now, but I think they out rebounded St. Peter's by 16 rebounds for the game, and Baycott just had his way down low. So it looked
That's
like
right. I have it right
Yeah,
here.
it was 33 rebounds total to 49. They slaughtered them in rebounds.
Yeah. It wasn't even. It was just a pure domination. And I think. Yeah, I mean, I think we definitely undervalued UNC going into the tournament. I feel like everybody thought that they kind of got screwed being on the outside looking in terms of the top part of that conference. I mean, of the tournament in the bracket. Yeah. So I think that St. Peter's, they had an amazing run. Shout out to them. That was really freaking cool having a 15 seed in the Elite Eight for the first time ever. But once tip off was up, I mean, you could tell in their body language too. They were missing way too many open shots. They had too many plays in transition, not taking care of the basketball. And if you're playing a team that's already better than you on paper, you just can't do it.
Yeah, and also looking at here, the North Carolina starters pretty much played the whole game.
Yeah,
literally, the bench only had every single player on the bench had only a minute of play time, except here. Puff Johnson, like literally the five of them just destroyed that whole program. And that's the only bad thing when, you have a MAC conference team against an ACC just to start. Like there could be players on St. Peter's that might not even make the UNC team. That's a hardcore reality. And still that you at least you admire the push. And this team did knock out Purdue. This team knocked out Kentucky. And I mean, you can't take that away from them. And you can only hope that, this is going to be a pretty great 30 for 30. Seems like Shaheen Holloway has become, everybody's favorite coach now. He played with Kobe in the high school McDonald's All-American, got the MVP over him. And he's on his way up the ranks. Looks like he's going to go to Seton Hall and
the Big East.
On his way up to be more.
Yeah.
Give us headache.
Yeah, he's going to give us more problems.
Let's get it. So why don't we talk about the Final Four right here, right now? 2 games. Everyone's waiting for this. And before we get into the real, let's be fair, the more anticipated matchup, but with this, it's still obviously a big deal. We have Villanova against Kansas. Lot on the line here. I mean, some things to talk about headline wise. You got Villanova trying to redeem themselves that fell short lately and to see if they can make this run again. People, for me, I've seen here and there on how they see their matchups going in, but they're in the Final Four. Jay Wright is a great coach for a reason. They are going to miss arguably one of their best players in guard Justin Moore, an NBA prospect. That is definitely a huge loss for the Wildcats. But right now, the line is that Kansas is a 4.5-point favorite. Kansas was a 1 seed that people didn't really give a lot of credit to. People think that they had the easier run to this Final Four, but they're still winning with exciting players. And whoops, my iPad just blanked out on me. But anyway, okay, here we go. But what do you think? Any players like Agbadi and Dewan Harris Jr. and Jalen Wilson, maybe the Jayhawks have something in them. But like I said, 4.5-point favorites right now. Where do we see this going? Do you think Villanova could get themselves in another national championship? Or do you see the Jayhawks returning to some type of glory as well? So both, this would be a great win for both schools and both programs, obviously. But who do you see making it to Monday night?
You want to go first, Alex? You want me to?
Oh, you can go ahead.
I think if it comes down to it, whether I want to say it or not, I'm big against the Villanova fan base, but I think Villanova, they have a clutch factor to them, and I think they are going to take it. I think Kansas has proven to be a very good team. I think that I think they haven't shown me enough to be solidified saying that Kansas is going to win this next game based off the teams they played in the tournament. I think, yes, Villanova has a problem with Justin Moore being out, but I think they have the players to step up to make up for Justin Moore being out. Do I think they're going to take it all? No, but I think they can make it to the championship. I think that with the coaching staff and all of them, I think they're going to clutch it out. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think the way they played Houston, and Houston being a bigger team and having great forwards, I think they can really do some damage against Kansas.
Yeah, and people do like their starting five. People went as far as to say they are a 6-man team. And if they are as legit as you say, they really shouldn't have a problem even in Moore's absence. Alex, where do you see this matchup going in the Jayhawks and the Wildcats?
Taking the opposite. I'm going the antithesis of Bill. Look, I fully believe that when healthy, Villanova can go toe-to-toe with Kansas, but this just feels like more of an aberration without Justin Moore if they're going to win. I think that it's not improbable that they could keep this game close, but I think in order to do so, they can only win one way, which is slowing the tempo and having long offensive sets. Because when you only have 6 guys in your rotation, you got to make sure your guys are well rested and healthy, which they barely are, and you have to attack in the opportunities where you can get them, and they're not going to be able to do that with the length and talent that Kansas has in the perimeter, including McCormick in the center of the court as well. Now they do have certain things they can bank and hold their hat on. They got the free throw shooting best in the nation by far. They can choose to do a zone and one set on defense. I would probably advise to do that and have Gillespie take Remy Martin because he's been the hottest player for Kansas throughout the tournament. Gillespie, he's got to be the game changer. He's got to go for 30 in this game to keep it close, in my opinion. Jermaine Samuels has had a stunning, phenomenal series so far. 16-10 versus Houston, 22-7 against Michigan, 17-8 with OSU. Totally, definitely the glue guy in the center, and he's going to have a big game as well. But I just think that Kansas is just they just have an advantage everywhere else besides Gillespie. I think that I'm going to totally butcher his name, but Ajibaji, Ajibaji, he's a stud. As long as he has a clean game, doesn't turn the ball over. He can go for 18 and 5 on any given day. And I think that the keys to victory really for Kansas, I mean, I barely see this game close, honestly, but they got to push the tempo and they got to dominate on the offensive glass and really just keep Nova away from the free throw line. And I think that they'll run away with this thing. But yeah, I mean, Kansas is a phenomenal team. Like I said, they're gonna rest on pace and tempo. That's how they blew Miami off the court in the second half last weekend. I think they're gonna do the same to Nova unless they allow them not to and slow them down. But I have Kansas winning by 5, 76-71. I know the spread's 4 right now, and I think that the only way this is going to stay close is if Villanova starts to rack up the fouls on Kansas early in the first half and in the second half. I think that they have to slow the game down in order to even have a shot here.
All right. And, one thing to also count, Jay Wright's a great coach for a reason. This would be his 3rd championship. And I think he has those players in a good spot and really disciplines them. I think that should be accounted for. And like I said, they haven't been in the national championship since 18, trying to get in there. And I think despite that and what people think about Kansas, I think the Wildcats will be back in a national championship game.
Matt, a feather in your cap there, because it's a good thing you brought it up with the coaches. We haven't talked about the coaching staffs. I think Jay Wright has won 4 out of 5 against Bill Self, if I understand it right.
I'd have to look that up right now, but I could do that really quick. But it does sound about right.
I think I saw that somewhere. Kansas has been just for the sake of the recent future, they've not come out prepared and hot in games. So I think if Villanova is gonna have a chance here, they gotta punch first as well. What do you think, Go?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they have to come out of the game fast. I think really what's going to come down to is, like you say, Gillespie. Gillespie is going to be a key point as a point guard. He's going to really need to kind of be that player that drives the lanes to get that, force a double team onto him, to try to pass out maybe to Samuels or someone on the three. I think Kansas's free throw shooting is lacking. I think the last game they were at 50%. They shot 50%. I think they were 13.
And that's key in this tournament. Is this?
You know what I mean? You need to make your you need to make your free throws, and I'm not too worried. Wise, other than that, I think that like I said, I really think it's gonna come down to that second quarter and pacing. Exactly like you said, Alex. I think if Kansas controls the pace of the game, that Villanova is going to have a hard time keeping up with them. But I think under pressure wise, I think Villanova will keep up, and in the end.
That's the thing, is Kansas has bodies. I mean, they've got length and height everywhere on the floor, especially in their matchups. So I think the only way that this is going to stay close is if Villanova can, take the opportunities, getting to the basket, reducing the turnovers, playing a clean game in that respect, and hitting their free throws and really slowing the tempo down.
You're right about that. I think Villanova definitely has to watch out for fouls. I think that's a big point. I don't think Villanova in the past hasn't been a huge team to be big in the foul category and being in foul trouble. I think one of the key things we really also need to look at is the depth of Kansas. That's another thing that worries me, is that Kansas's bench, even after if they pull their starters, they're still a great team and they can still score. So that's very worrying versus the Villanova bench. Villanova is more of like a 7-man team, like 7-player team. There's really 7 players that really make a difference. Behind those 7, there's not really any crazy talent that we can look onto when those 7 other players are on the bench. So
and it'll be interesting to see what kind of defensive sets Jay Wright comes out to and then pivots towards in the second half, because with in-game adjustments, I think definitely Jay Wright has the edge. I think Bill Self has kind of predicated himself on better recruiting classes overall. I think he's come into more talent at the get-go of the season and in the tournament, and kind of results to that. So it'll be interesting to see the coaching battle at the beginning of the second half, because I think that Villanova can definitely keep it close in terms of the margin of deficit that they go into the half with. If they do run a box and one set with Gillespie on Remy Martin, because it kind of neutralizes their offense for Kansas. They're all about movement and motion and getting out on a break. So if they can come out and kind of disguise some things in the second half, I think it could give Kansas more issues than not.
Definitely.
Great insight from the both of you there. And the other game, a matchup that is as poetic as it can be. Not only one of the biggest rivalries in college sports, but one of the biggest rivalries in sports in general. Duke versus North Carolina, Saturday night at about 8:49 p.m. We're going to have these two go at it for the first time ever in the March Madness tournament. And look at the stakes on the line. Obviously, Coach K's final season. He makes it to the Final Four anyways. Can he cap off and get to a national championship one last time and ultimately win it? Or do we have the new kid on the block in Hubby Brown, new coach of UNC, his very first season? I mean, if only Roy Williams held on one more year, right? But besides that, you have this team that, despite all the obstacles they faced, getting a very low seed and not being taken seriously, even with a 28-9 record, they have gotten to this point with some stellar games throughout. I mean, there was a point people thought maybe Baylor was gonna knock them out, but they stayed on. Impressive win against UCLA, and then obviously breaking America's hearts by knocking out the Peacocks. But this is great, guys. This is as good as it gets. The spread is a 4 points in Duke's favor. And yeah, where do we go, guys? This is just as cool as it gets. You can not be disappointed with how this turned out with stars like Bacot versus Bichero and Love and Moore Jr. on both sides. We're definitely seeing some future NBA draft picks in this. And this team, that both teams who know how to score and play defense, this is going to be a lot of fun. Maybe it will just be a war of attrition. But I'm going to throw it to you guys. Where do we see this going? Who's going to win this epic matchup that you do not want to miss?
I'm going to say UNC.
UNC.
Wow.
But now I could be completely wrong. I just like how UNC has been playing. But the two things I feel like this game is going to come down to is the rebounding, who's going to control the boards, because they both are really good at rebounding. So it's going to be a fight for the paint and who's going to be, playing more aggressive and controlling that paint, as well as the 3-point shootings. I know that Duke's last game, they shot 4 for 10 from the 3-point. So not bad. If they continue that into this next game, that could be definitely a big factor if they control the 3-point game over UNC. UNC, I think last game actually struggled against St. Peter's from the 3. I think they shot way less. Yeah, 6 for 22. They only shot 27% from the 3-point line, which is a struggle. I think that they really need to focus on getting that up and making sure that their 3-point game is way better than what they did against St. Peter. And I think that will kind of be the edging sword on who's going to win. I think both those teams are really good at free throws. They've shown that they can really make them. I think last game, I think UNC struggled a little bit, but in previous games, they really never struggled on that front. And Duke is shot, what was it, 16, 13? 16, I think it was? Okay. 16 for 18, so 88% from the free throw line. So I'm not too worried about Duke's free throw shooting either. So I'm really, really focused on who's going to control the boards and the offensive defensive rebound.
Excellent.
Yeah. Man, I can't believe you're taking UNC. Look, if I've learned one thing in my 27 years on this earth is if you embarrass a rival on their home court, they are never going to forget that.
so much
the camera came off. They don't want you to express that.
Oh, my bad.
No, you're fine.
Well, you're good. You're back now.
It was like perfect timing. It cut out right when you said it.
Yeah.
I was wondering what the hell happened. My bad, my bad,
No
guys.
worries.
We good? We're good?
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but there's something about revenge games when it's sudden death, it's on the line. You got a coach on his way out. I'm sure there's going to be dozens and dozens of alumni on the sidelines. Not going to go full crying Jordan, but I think it's going to be Duke that gets the last laugh. I got them 74-69. And the reason being is because, I mean, look, both teams, they know each other like the back of their hand. They've had 3 successful, outcomes to the last opponents that they faced on their sides of the bracket. But for Duke, it's going to start with Banchero. He's got to lead the charge, and then the guys will follow. I think that they got to attack the glass. They got to get Mark Williams involved early. He had a double-double against Arkansas. It was very impressive, very efficient on the glass as well. Just kind of execute their half-court sets. And they should be able to take care of this. They were +9 in offensive rebounding, so the rebounding margin is going to be critical in this game because We know how much of a beast Baycott and Manic are down low. I think as long as they get to the basket and they make some threes, they're going to stay slightly comfortably ahead with UNC. But the reason I have it at 5 when the spread is at 4.5 is because, look, UNC's got Twin Towers. Baycott, they're going to have to double. They're going to have to foul him hard. They're going to have to make him go to the line and get free throws. He was an absolute monster against St. Peter's, 20 and 22, 14 and 15 versus UCLA, 15 and 16 versus Baylor. I mean, this guy is Timmy D on steroids. Manic, like I alluded to earlier in our in our conversation, I think that he has to be the glue of the offense. Now, he's not a big assist guy, but he cleans up on the glass. I just think that high screen and roll, getting circulation on the perimeter, they have to run some trick plays against Duke. I think that he needs to be the glue guy that's going to have the offense running through him in this game, just to keep Duke on their heels, to keep it close. But if they dominate the glass, they're going to keep it close. If they capitalize on their free throws when they get the chance, they're going to keep it close. If one of those guys gets in foul trouble, they could really have this game could get out of hand. But I like Duke by 5, and it's very hard for me to overstate. It's very, very hard for me to overstate the pride that's in the line for Coach K, because having your last memory at Cameron Indoor, getting embarrassed off your floor, it just left a bad taste in fans' mouth. And I think that this is the ultimate redemption game. I don't really see it happening any other way.
I agree with you, Alex. As I mentioned before, it might just be simply a war of attrition, because clearly these two teams stack up head to head. I mean, the field goal percentage, 45 to 49, rebounds, 40 to 37, assists, 15 to 16. These teams are head to head. And we clearly saw what happened in the big stage, losing on Coach K's home court. Not to repeat your point, but I think this literally comes down to a Hollywood moment where they can knock this team out. They have played, you can argue that they played tougher teams to get there, whether you want to talk about a Michigan State or Arkansas. People were fond of the Texas Tech was a huge win for Duke to pull off. People really liked what they were doing. So put this all together, I think at the end of the day, analysis aside, that Duke will ultimately pull it off. But I wouldn't be surprised if UNC ruined it one more time, and then Coach K can never be in North Carolina ever again in the whole state if it turns out that way.
That's that Chapel Hill. One other thing too, and the reason if I'm a guy on Hubert Davis's roster, or his coaching staff, is if I'm talking to him and I'm in his ear, the reason I want Manic with the ball running the offense is not necessarily because he's great at orchestrating an offense, but if you can pull Mark Williams and Wendell Moore out of the paint and get either one of them in foul trouble and start opening things up for cutters and easy points, I think that it could give Duke real troubles for the game. And to be honest, I have immense respect for Coach K, but he's not necessarily the best second half adjustment kind of guy. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if one of those guys gets in foul trouble, and same with Baycott or Manic as well.
Yes, and I botched that name. Didn't mean to say Hubby Brown. It's Hubert Davis. I don't know. Yeah. I was dozing for a second, but
respect to the late great Hubie Brown, right?
Definitely. But yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun. This, I think, people will, any sports fan who actually likes sports will take the time to tune into this.
Oh, yeah.
And let's see how it all unfolds, which brings us to Monday after the teams we talked about. Between the 4 teams, I said I expect Duke to win. I expect it to be a Duke and Villanova national championship. Alex, who you said Duke and did you say Duke and Kansas?
For my picks, I have Duke and Kansas.
Yep. And then Brandon, you had UNC and
UNC and Villanova.
UNC and Villanova. Great. So who do you guys in that matchup together, who do you expect to see as a national championship? I think at that point, Coach K, you got to win. That would be arguably the next in line as quote unquote the best college basketball coach who's been there since 2001 in Jay Wright. Wouldn't that be a passing of the torch? Now I got to beat you, but let Coach K get his 6th national championship. Jay Wright will be hungry again, and then he will be recognized as, the quote unquote GOAT of current college basketball coaches for the men's side right now. I think that would be pretty cool and another nice little story coming into this game.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm happy for all 4 coaches because I think they're all, nothing but class. Have still with their time besides Coach K, their best years in front of them. Assuming that Bill Self's health is in good fortune, good spirits. He lost his father this year, but yeah, this is the go-to moment to make your market if you're Hubert Davis. He was, he was handed the keys to the city from Roy Williams, and he's got all the right pieces in place. I think this is one of those situations where you want to be good situationally, you want to be sound and astute and on point with your second half adjustments, but let the guys play. Put the game in the hands of these players, because so far all throughout the tournament they've done nothing but dominate the competition. So I think this is a great opportunity for him to kind of lead by example with his intensity and his effort. I'm so happy for him. I don't want to keep spilling on about Hubert Davis, but I do like him in his future.
Excellent stuff right there.
What's up, Goo?
Me? Oh, you guys think it do? I'm looking at UNC. I just think UNC has it. And they're gonna take it. I think they've shown resilience, and I think they have a solid team. I think they're gonna prove it. I think I have no disrespect to Duke and the coaching staff and all that. I think he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. I just think that they're a young roster. They made it through the tournament. I don't think they're gonna be able to keep up with UNC. I think there's a lot that has to unfold for Duke to do to win the national championship. I think there's so many intangibles that I can't physically know what's going to happen, but I have a good feeling about UNC. Other than that, yeah, I have nothing really else to say other than that on that point. And Villanova, I really don't want them to win. Remember, I'm a UConn fan, big UConn fan, so I'm always against Villanova, even though Jay Wright has established to being one of the other best coaches in college basketball, and continues to prove it every year.
I want to make something very clear before Matt takes the floor. I'm not talking myself into picking UNC or Villanova. I just think that they both have the coaching upper hand, especially in second half in-game adjustments, especially particularly Villanova, because UNC, like Hubert Davis is slightly unproven, but he's had a great run so far. But enough double speak. I got Duke and Kansas. Go ahead, man.
Duke of Kansas. Excellent. Well, all right. So so you and I want to see the nope. So okay, sorry. You and I want to see the Duke Blue Devils take it once and for all. Brady, you want to see the Tar Heels win it. So this will be a fun thing to pay attention to. But yeah, pretty much said everything we needed to. It's going to be a great weekend of college basketball. And we'll check in at the beginning part of the week and react to what took place. But besides that, thank you so much, Brandon Gutierrez, Alex Ranniello, 2 of the best to ever do it when talking about college basketball. Have a great night, gentlemen, and thank you very much.
Later, boys. Enjoy the game.
Later. See ya.
Peace.